We are about to complete the first quarter of the year, and I thought this is a great time to review everything I've read so far in 2025. So I have completed 6 books, and thankfully none of them were DNFs. I am 5 books behind my reading goals or my reading schedule, but I feel like because it's still the beginning of the year, I still have time, and I have faith in myself that the next time I'm doing a video like this, I will have finished the number of books that I need to have finished by that time. So my reading goal for this year is completing 50 books, so fingers crossed that I will reach that goal. For now, let's talk about the 6 books I've read so far. The first book on my list is Orbital by Samantha Harvey. This book has been the talk of the town since last year, and I think that is because it won the 2024 Booker Prize. I've seen it so much on the internet and heard so much about it, everything being so positive and talking about how great it is, so naturally I was curious. The story follows 6 women and men who have been chosen to space travel. They consist of 4 astronauts and 2 cosmonauts. I don't know if I'm the only one left on planet Earth, but it is in reading this book that I discovered in Russia astronauts are called cosmonauts and not astronauts. So that was a fun little discovery. Among the astronauts we have American, British, Italian, and I think Japanese astronauts, and of course the cosmonauts are from Russia. So we follow these 6 individuals as they orbit planet Earth. They are tasked with various experiments that they carry out while they are in space, and they also have to observe Earth from their unique vantage point. So we're with them as they adjust to life in space and they adapt to their new normal. We see them as they try to adjust to things like sleeping in an environment where gravity and beds do not exist, adopt unique ways of keeping up with hygiene practices because it is very different in space. Like a very unique thing is that they cannot spit out toothpaste after brushing their teeth. They have to swallow it, which I felt like there were holes in that statement because then what do they do when they have to pee? We also see how they adjust to being miles away from home with colleagues who are basically strangers. The writing itself felt very technical. We get to see what the astronauts are seeing as they orbit planet Earth. So when they come across a typhoon or something like that, we see the description of what that looks like from space. We also see a bit of their personal lives while they were on Earth, but for the bulk of the book, it's focused on how Earth looks from space. It does make you see how perhaps a little bit insignificant we are as humans and how we are at the mercy of this universe that functions in its own way. At the same time, it also brings the story closer and shows how we are so important and significant in the grand scheme of things and how we are all connected through this big blue planet of ours. If you've ever been curious about the small details that go into space travel, and also just a book that really makes you feel like you are experiencing what it's like to be there, then this is a great option to pick up. With that said, this was unfortunately very tedious for me to read, and I found myself being thankful for its brevity because it was only 136 pages. And because I knew it was that short, I knew that I could soldier on and finish. But when you're reading a book, you do not want to be soldiering on. You want to be enjoying the experience. I think the reason I didn't enjoy this as much as I hoped I would is because there is no plot to this story and it didn't feel like there was any kind of character development. You're literally there to see what the astronauts are seeing and how they are processing all the information that is in front of them in this really new and unique environment. But with that said, I feel like I'm not convinced that I should leave my thoughts of this book as they are. I feel like sometimes if you revisit something that you experienced a while back, you find a new perspective to the same experience, and sometimes you find yourself appreciating what's in front of you. Other times, maybe you realize everything that you're reading was trash. So I think I'm going to revisit this book later on just to see if I still feel like it's a very tedious read, or perhaps I will see the magic that everyone felt when they were reading this because it has a lot of positive reviews. So I suppose I'm the 1% that didn't really enjoy this. For now, I gave it 3 stars on my Goodreads. Tomorrow Died Yesterday by Chimeka Garricks. Wow, what a read, what a read. This is set in Nigeria, and we are following 4 boys who form a friendship that transcends their childhood and seeps into their adult years. Our 4 main characters are Kanye, who is a lawyer turned restaurant owner, Amaiba, who is a soft-spoken professor with a strong moral compass, and we have Tubo, who is a morally grey employee at an oil company. And lastly, Doe, who is a rebel that is against the current state of affairs in his country. The journey of these 4 characters is set against the backdrop of their home in Nigeria, where oil has been discovered. The narrative essentially shows how the presence of a coveted natural resource, paired by the greed of humans, can really lay waste to an entire nation or a certain population of people, and it can completely annihilate any opportunities that they may have of progress and growth for everyone. And honestly, isn't it so relevant in places like Congo? The writing style of this author is honestly what hooks you, because it is so raw that it creates a visceral experience for the reader. He captures these 4 characters so distinctly and in a way that makes them feel so human and real. Like, I feel like Tubu exists somewhere, Doya does exist somewhere, Amaiba exists somewhere, and everything that happens surrounding these characters' lives felt so unfiltered and so real. There was no floweriness to the writing. It just all felt like it could be a real story, and I think that's what made everything so excellent, because his writing makes you feel everything so deeply. When it came to the graphic scenes, oh my goodness, I am a bit scared, and I am still trying to forget some of the graphic scenes because they are so difficult to read and they feel so real and realistic. But oh my god, I'm so glad I came across this book and I read it. It was just a wonderful read, and I gave this 4 stars. I don't know why, but I'm gonna bump that up to 5 stars. That would make Tomorrow Died Yesterday my first 5-star of 2025. Next is the first non-fiction that I picked up this year, and it is Crying in Hatred by Michelle Zauner. This is a memoir by Michelle, and it focuses on her experience losing her mom to cancer. Michelle herself is somebody that is mixed race, so she is half Korean, half American, with her mom being Korean and her dad being American. But she has lived in America for most of her life, and in the book she only visits Korea here and there. So the book focuses on her relationship with her mom up until she loses her, and we get to see how being Korean influences and shapes the relationship that she has with her mom. The story explores the complex dynamic that exists between a mother and a daughter, and how as parents, why am I saying as parents as if I'm a parent, and how as a parent one can have certain expectations for their children, and even children how they can have certain expectations. The bulk of Michelle's relationship with her mom is really influenced by these expectations that we place on one another, and it's also influenced by their culture and heritage. These aspects do cause a lot of friction between her and her mom. It does really drive a wedge in the relationship and really just creates a lot of distance between the two. But when her mom is diagnosed with cancer, all these things that they felt were important to see reflected in one another completely disappear. I think it reinforced how there is a love that is so deep and so unbreakable between a mother and their child, and a child and their parent. But sometimes this can get tainted when we enforce our expectations on each other. Reading this felt like I was looking through something so personal to the author. It was very vulnerable, it was very beautiful, and it was sad. I gave this 4 stars on my Goodreads, but I think I'm gonna bump it up to 5 stars. Next is Triangulum by Masande. Ntshanga? I'm not sure how to pronounce the second name. I already know I'm butchering it, so I will just put the book somewhere here and you'll be able to see the name of the author. Triangulum is set in South Africa, and it's a science fiction book told from various timelines starting in the 1990s all the way into the future, with a specific year being 2040. It starts with South Africa's space agency receiving a mysterious package from an unknown woman. This package contains a memoir and recordings of events that are set to happen in the future. At first, nobody pays attention to any of it until the events that are documented there start happening according to the timelines that they are documented. This book felt like it had a lot of plot points and a lot of things that it wanted to say, but at every turn the conclusion to anything felt very underwhelming. When you give all this information, I feel like you need to have a compelling grand scheme of things so that as the reader someone can understand what is the heart and soul of a story. But for me, it just felt like there was a lot that was said, but it all felt like it didn't have a compelling point to it. So after reading this one, all I'm left with is a strong sense of being very underwhelmed, and therefore I think I gave it 2 stars. I'm not gonna change this rating, I'm gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna move on because I feel like if I linger on this story any longer, I might end up changing my 2-star rating to a 1 star. The next book is You Exist Too Much by Zaina Arafat. I hope I haven't butchered the names of some of these authors, but if I have, bear with me. I think it takes a special skill to capture a problematic character in a way that isn't black and white. And our main character here, she's not a really good person, but she's not a bad person either. We are following a Palestinian American girl who does live in the US, but on occasion she does visit her homeland in the Middle East. The story starts off when she visits a religious place in her homeland, and she is shamed because she's wearing shorts. At that time, she was a child, maybe going through puberty, and that is a point where she started becoming aware of certain norms, rules, beliefs, and these beliefs were specific to her background as a Palestinian American. Later on, she also grapples with the weight of being a disappointment to her mom because she finds herself having to confess that she is bisexual, and when she tells this to her mom's response is, "You exist too much," and that is basically her mom disapproving. We see how she struggles with wanting so desperately for her mom to love her and accept her unconditionally, but also being fully herself and not being ashamed of it. And it also becomes very clear how her life experiences have shaped her into the person that she is. She is a very chaotic person, and the kind of person that in real life I would say to avoid at all costs, because they are plain toxic in my opinion. Have you ever been in a relationship that is platonic, romantic, or anything in between? It could even be professional, but basically just a relationship that always felt so confusing and chaotic, and no matter what you do, nothing ever resolves the situation and leads to a healthy dynamic between you and the other person. I think this basically explains our main character, and it was so interesting and unique to see inside the mind of such a person and see how they think, how they process information, and how they view things. There are points in the book that she did things that were very terrible to other people that she supposedly loved, but at no point was she ever sorry for hurting them. She was more so concerned or sorry that she was caught, and anything she did that seemed like she was getting help or trying to be better was not for the sake of getting better, but for the sake of appearing as if she is trying to get help and to get better. I gave this book 3 stars, but I think I will also change my rating to be 4 stars on Goodreads. And the last thing that I read is Broken, Not a Halal Love Story by Fatima Bala. This was just okay. It was good in the sense that it was okay, kind of good. It's what you get or what you expect when you pick up a romance book, and it fits right in with other popular romance authors like Emily Henry, Ali Hazelwood, Abby Jimenez, and the likes. We follow our main character Faiza, who relocates to Canada to study law, but she is initially from Nigeria. While in Canada, she meets Ahmed, and the story is mainly centered on their time in Canada and how the two of them spark a romance and how it progresses. This is a romance between Muslims and also between Nigerians. So the story really opens up about what it's like dating when you subscribe to the Muslim religion, and also how Nigerian cultural beliefs play a part. It was entertaining, it was fun to read. It had the expected aspects of things that don't feel probable in romance, but in the end it's something that I enjoyed reading and appreciated seeing different characters from those that are typically found in the popular romance books. I gave this one 3 stars because it was just okay and I did enjoy reading it. Those are the 6 books I have read so far in 2025, and if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're interested in more bookish content. If you are specifically looking for book recommendations, then you might want to check out this video that I did of 50 books that I read and tier ranked in 2024. That's it from me, and see you in the next one.